Trave7iN. We here. 13 love. 13 open tone. Yeah, peace, God. Peace, everybody out there doing their thing. Keep doing your thing. We here. You know what I'm saying? Got the, this right here. It's a new mic. You see the energy around that shit? Shit look crazy, huh? Yeah, that's the new mic right there, though. That powerful mic. Oh, yo, my nigga. When I was in the room, this for everybody here as well, too. Yo, when I was in the room right now, nigga, and I was meditating, I was doing my hands like this, doing the fire thing, and that shit was sparking up electricity. I was seeing electricity glowing in my hand, nigga. That shit is crazy, nigga. And like I always felt the magnetic energy or whatever, but yo, I was able to, like I seen it before, but now I'm able to see it by doing this shit. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of shit, man. I've been seeing a lot of electricity. You know what I'm saying? A lot of energy. Let me talk about that shit, yo. About that shit that I was talking about in the other video. You know what I'm saying? When I was talking about, you know, how these bitch ass niggas be trying to mess with a nigga and shit like that. So, like, what happened? I've been having dreams of like going through the circuitry, like of the electricity of like uh you know, the regular wires of house wires and all that crazy shit. Like, so it's like I'm able to enter into buildings and shit like that, into homes and shit like that through a different uh kind of channeling type of shit. How you call it, like a different level, tunnel, whatever, because there's different levels of astral projecting. You know what I'm saying? You might astral project yourself as a being that's floating around, as a ghost that just, you know what I'm saying, as an observer, and then you can actually become the electricity, where you can do effects to the electricity, you know what I'm saying, within somebody's thing. And you know, you can use the main thing that I was doing in through the dreams that I was acknowledging was that I was able to go in through the electricity as a means of a gateway to enter into a certain place that I needed to go to. Like if I needed to go inside a building or whatever the case may be, I will be able to travel through the Ethernet. You know what I'm saying? And electricity, and come out like through, you know, like, you know, whatever. But I've been seeing myself going through the internet, like going in through Ethernet, like basically appearing in front of people's screens, you know what I'm saying? And also in their screens of like their homes, like in their face, like, you know, as electricity, you know what I'm saying? As like Wi-Fi, you know what I'm saying? Like Wi-Fi within the in the room, you know what I'm saying? The Ethernet and all that extra shit. And you know, when I was getting that FBI shit, and I still get that shit, you know what I'm saying? Still on some bullshit, but nigga chilling. They can't touch a nigga on deck. They can't mess with an avatar, man. You know what I'm saying? They know what it is. You know, they can only try to put fear into you so that you can believe into that shit, and then you fall victim to that shit. If you like acknowledge it, but you know, pay no mind to it, and acknowledge that you're beyond that, and see it as, look, and take it as a form as, look, they're messing with me because this shit is real, instead of taking it as like, oh, they're messing with me because I'm doing some crazy shit, they're gonna get me, da 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 da. That's when they get you in the fear tactics, you know what I'm saying? So you can reverse it, because they're messing. That's why they don't try to mess with you that hard and that obvious, because they don't want to give you that that hope to know that this shit is real. Because even if you see like, oh, they everywhere, but the fact that the matter is that you know that it's real, and that gives you enough energy to do what you got to do. But not at the point where you had them all around you or whatever, and then you be like, oh, this shit is real, I can't do nothing about it, they're all around me, that's it, you know what I'm saying, and I'm not able to get up out of this. That's when you get what's it called, taken up by their ass. So these niggas, they came over here to my shit, and they was like on some like, yo, uh um they knocked down my internet, you know what I'm saying, knocked down the internet and shit like that, and you know, they were messing with a nigga coming like driving nearby the cribbo and shit like that, you know what I'm saying, the spot. And then it would be doing things like coming through, acting like AT&T niggas and shit like that. And then there's other niggas that was trying to act like FPL niggas and shit like that. And the AT&T nigga came at me, and he on some like, oh, you got internet here, da 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 da. What do you use it for? What is it? You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, you know, I know that it's for security purposes, but you know, when it comes to a certain degree, like they asking, you know, too many specific questions to a nigga. You know what I'm saying? That it's like, I know you don't ask this to your normal customers. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, why are you asking me that much personal details? Like, you just ask, you got internet, and that's it. You don't ask too much questions like that. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't like they was asking this kind of question to like try to provide me with a service to give me the best. Like, and it was late night too. It was like around almost 9 o'clock at night, nigga. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, and I was talking about these bitch ass niggas, and then they come knocking at the door and shit. I answered just to see what's up, what's the deal with that shit, and you know, put my foot on the ground. You know what I'm saying? And like, I peeped that shit out, and this nigga's like coming late night, asking all kinds of questions, and then one of the things that he asked was like, "Oh, you're not using this to hack into the Pentagon or nothing like that." And I'm like, "What the heck?" And I'm like, "Nah," you know what I'm saying? But he was saying it sarcastically, you know what I'm saying, as a joke type of shit. But it's like, you know how the saying goes, like sometimes when people are joking, you know what I'm saying, like the truth comes out and shit like that. So it's like, it's not no joke, nigga. Like, you don't say that to your normal customers, you know what I'm saying? That's some random shit to be saying to a nigga, you know what I'm saying? Or is it, you know what I'm saying? Or is it some you know, like some shit that, you know, whatever. But obviously that is some shit like that, because you know, I be astral projecting. I be, you know, lucid dreaming, doing them type of shits. And, you know, these are one of the things that I be doing. And I've been acknowledging myself going into different things like that. So when I'm talking about having dreams about going through the circuitries and all this kind of bullshit and through the electricity and explaining it, I'm explaining it, it's showing you that, you know, I don't study. I never done no hacking shit by hand or nothing like that, like through computer or nothing like that. I don't know nothing about that shit. But that nigga approached me on some shit like that, like, am I hacking into shit or something, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, I don't deal with that shit. I ain't some computer ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I'm trying to say is that it was like we taking it to a whole nother level where we're cracking the code to being able to even just go right in there, astral projectedly, you yourself, your body, your spiritual body, you know what I'm saying, your astral body, you're able to go and travel in there into, you're able to travel in there and go in there through the, you know, you're able to crack the code by cracking your own code, like cracking the, you know what I'm saying, you know, opening up those portals, and you're able to do what you got to do. You're able to do even more so than what they're able to do through computer, because that's all logic brain shit anyways, you know what I'm saying. What I was doing is something out of this ordinary shit. So it's like, it's in relations and linking up to that, because it's dealing with the Merkabah. And I've been seeing a lot of shit, man, um like taking a shower, cold shower, like I said, like I was seeing the ether rising up on my body, seeing the ether rising up, seeing the ether rise up in the while the sun is coming out. I go outside and I'm looking at the sun, and then I see the I go to the lake, to the pond, and I'm seeing the ether. I'm following the ether, and there was a ether rising up from the water, you know what I'm saying? The ether of the water, and it was like a blue color, like a smoke, you know what I'm saying? And then it was like a violet, little bit of violet, like a purple tone. And then it'll have like a real light, like rainbowish colors to it. And then when the sun came out, as soon as the sun came out, the sun was like centering right at me. Like, you know how the sun glare goes through the lake? It was like right at me, right? And then that whole line, that strip of line of where the sun was at, was the ether rising up, and nowhere else in the lake was the ether rising up. Everywhere else, when I first got there, the whole lake was like ether rising, everything. And then it started to be one center, you know what I'm saying? And like, another thing is, one of the things that I want to share is an experience that I had one time with acknowledging about the fairies and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And the tears, the nature spirits was with the fact that how I was able to peep out from this big ass tree. There was this huge ass tree, and I was studying the lizards and seeing how there's different types of lizards, how there's good lizards, bad lizards. You know what I'm saying? There's like these lizards with teeth that eat other lizards and eat, like they're like carnivores and shit like that. And then there's lizards that are, vegetarian. They still eat their bugs and shit like that. But for the most part of it, those are the coconut eating ones. You know what I'm saying? Blueberry eating, the ones that I be throwing out food for, and they eat. And then there's a family of those, there's a group of those, and then the other ones, right? And then I acknowledge that there's like a war going on with the fairies, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of them living on a tree and shit, like live on this big ass tree, like that's very close by where I'm at. And in that tree, I acknowledge one time, like I used to get food and shit like that, and I be getting the ringing in my ear, peeping it out from that side, looking at it, from meditating over there. But there was this one thing that I acknowledged this one time was a lizard, one of those bad lizards, right? They only come out at night, and their eyes are like slanted. You know what I'm saying? Like a poisonous kind of animal. You know what I'm saying? It only comes out at night. They're like geckos, but not necessarily geckos. Some of them have spikes in their backs, and it's something that I never acknowledged until I seen it closely. Then I was able to see, oh, these niggas is not normal lizards and shit like that. And so one of the things I seen from that nigga though was that I went to this one spot and I was thinking about them. It was in the backyard. I was thinking about the fairies and about this war, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case may be, like I feel like there's a war going on with the fairies and these niggas, da da da. And that's how they be trying to protect us, while these niggas is trying to set up more rituals on the behalf of these people, because a lot of these people, like a lot of us know, they're nothing but lizards and like snakes, like bad snakes though, and bad lizards, ants, the bad animals and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? A whole bunch of in all actuality, it's just a whole bunch of roaches and slugs and all kinds of leeching ass niggas. They just using a hologram light to illusionize themselves and shit like that. But anyways, so what I seen on this shit was a spear, like it seemed like a spear, a made spear, like real tiny, like real small, and it was like it was real tiny, and I acknowledged that it was like a spear hit to the snake, to the lizard, and it was in the back of the head of the lizard. No, hold on, it was like slanted in a way where it's like it was like coming from the back, you know what I'm saying, of the lizard, but it was like a spear, yo. And when I looked at it, it looked so small, it was so tiny, and what it was, let me see if it was one of these type of shits, like, see that, shit, which is something like this. See, it's like a straw, like a, you know what I'm saying, like hay, you know what I'm saying, like that type of shit, like that dry leaf type of shit, real tiny, you know what I'm saying, like small, real tiny, smaller than this one, like a piece of like a piece of this, you know what I'm saying, like real tiny, like, you know what I mean, like you could hardly see it type of shit, like one of this type of shit. Let me show you how intricate this shit is. It was like this. You can't even see it probably right now. See? You can see it. Look, that's how tiny it was, like that. See? Which means it's like this. And I seen this. This right here. This exact type of shit right here. This shit on the back of a lizard, like speared, thrown into a lizard, like shot, like, and I can see it that it came directly from that side of the tree, from that tree that I'm telling you about with the fairies and all that kind of stuff. And I seen that shit, and I seen that it was speared into, it was shot into the lizard in the back of the head, and the lizard was dead. And I seen that shit. And then another thing that I acknowledged, I was like, yo, that was very intricate. In order for something to do that, it has to be at that small of a level, and it has to have the mentality of a warrior to protect itself in that format. You know what I'm saying? To be doing some shit like that, and to be using some shit like this. And how I know that what I'm saying is true, like how I know like that shit is effective and it's possible, is because in Tai Chi and Kung Fu, you know what I'm saying? Like for there's masters that are able to to use nails with their bare hands, a regular nail, and throw that shit, and it'll pierce right through, like as if they hit it with a with a hammer or some shit. Like they had a hammer gun or some shit, and they pierce right through it. And then they also have these the masters that also are able to use a needle, a little ass needle, and have that shit pierce right through a glass, anything through glass, you know what I'm saying? So it could go right through, you know, as well as rocks and all that shit. So at the same time, it's the same knowledge applied, applicable to the to the leaf, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta have that knowledge, and only a nature spirit could do that type of shit with it. Just a natir. You know what I'm saying? Only they had that kind of ability to do that type of shit to alchemy and use the elements of the you know, the elements. You know what I'm saying? All the elements, fire, wood. You know what I'm saying? So they were able to use that in that position. You know what I'm saying? And so I acknowledged that shit, and I was like, wow, man, that shit is deep. And that's something that y'all niggas need to know in order to, you know, these are part of the steps for your macabre, because your macabre dealing with your sacred geometry and shit like that. I'm gonna break down real quick to y'all niggas the names of these different kinds of these shapes real quick. I'm gonna shut down this video, man. Tetrahedron, which is dealing with fire. Hexahedron, which is dealing with earth. Octahedron, which is dealing with air. Icosahedron is dealing with water. And dodecahedron, which is dealing with ether and prana. And then there's the sphere, which is the void. And then I also use the columns, you know what I'm saying? The columns are in the background, but you know, the columns can be um I look at them as, you know, this I carry them with me, you know what I'm saying? Carry me with me. But I'm gonna shut this shit down. I'll talk about it after the next video. Alright, yo, peace, guy. Namaste. We here, 30 dope soon.